I am the big tank.
On the battlefield of life, nothing's harder than a tank. Yeah, have you ever met a man, hearts full of love, bigger than a
Tank.
tank?
Big tank.
He served in a few wars, he's a veteran that stands for a cause. For the best interviews and news, just keep it glued to the
Tank. I
tank.
am the tank. Big
Big
tank.
Tank Talk.
Tank.
Big Tank Talk.
Tank. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Big Tank Talk. Today, I'm bringing to you the 3D guru, the guy to go to if you have questions or want to figure out 3D printing. My very good friend ShaydeReaver. Shade, welcome to Big Tank Talk.
Hey, thank you for having me.
First question's always the same. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be on Clapper.
Um, well, I just kind of happened to stumble upon it. Somebody that I was following on one of the other apps was talking about how they are over here as well and what you could do. And as soon as I came over here, I just kind of wanted to see what it was all about, and I joined. I forget when it was exactly, but right around 2021 maybe,
Right.
and took me a little while to find some people to convinced me to put myself out there. But I was just kind of hanging in the background, kind of coming through, talking to people every once in a while. But I found some people that saw my work, really convinced me that I needed to start making videos, and introduced me to all my people on here. So
And believe me, some of us are really glad you're here.
thank you.
Now, I introduce you as a 3D printing guru. Um, when did you start with 3D printing?
I even back in high school, I would see people like in the old days of 3D printing, and at that point, it was beyond me. But that was back in about 2006, 2007. I really started researching it, keeping up to date with what new advances they had in it, and by 2016, I had my first 3D printer.
And
And
what was it about 3D printing that drew you to it?
just the idea of being able to create some of the stuff that I always wanted as a kid, like having action figures that I wasn't able to get, or having some just really cool stuff that, like, whatever action figures they didn't even make yet, I could theoretically make it myself, paint it up, model kits, things like that, and being able to create replacement parts for the things that had broken around the house, and all the really interesting things that they talked about that you could do with it eventually.
That's awesome. So you have practical uses as well as just
Yeah.
entertaining uses. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
Um, what has been? Let me back up a minute. You're the 3D printing guru. How many 3D printers do you have?
Yeah. Currently, I have 13 3D printers, some of which are the resin printers, which use a different type of material. They go with the UV cured resin as opposed to melting plastic filament to go by layer.
And which are the more current? Which is the more current type? Or are they both?
The
The printers today use both types.
They've both been around for a long time. Manufacturing in actual factories has been using resin type printers for since probably the 70s at least.
Right.
Mainstream in there. Um, but they took a while to get into the household printer market. So they've been around for about almost 10 years now, but
Oh,
really affordable over the last 6 or 7. You can get a
do
real
you,
nice one for
now,
cheap.
do you remember the first successful 3D printed object you made? And if so, what was it?
That was probably a component for one of my dad's friends who reloads his own ammo because he built his own contraption for the whole thing. So he automated it himself and made his own reloader, and he was having issues getting the casings to funnel in correctly. So
Yeah.
he had some cardboard stuff mocked up, taped up, all that, and I looked at it and I said, "I'll design you one that's 3D printed that will be the same shape. It'll fit in perfectly, and it'll help funnel everything and channel it into the tube the right way." So that was the first thing that I made that was actually a success.
So it worked just like you said it would, huh?
Hmm.
That's awesome. Now, get do you consider yourself more of an engineer or an artist based on what you do?
Probably an engineer, but a close second with the artist because I do design my own stuff from time to time. A lot of it is I pay for the licensing to 3D print their files, and then I pick out all the colors and I'll paint the things myself. And
Excuse me.
but
Okay.
mainly I like to build and run the machines.
Okay. Paul wants to know, that's Fear the Reaper, what's the average price for a decent 3D printer?
It depends on the what you want to go, like what all you want to be able to do with it, multicolor prints and speed. But if you just want to get an entry level printer, a really good one is about $200 $300 for just a really good entry level 3D printer.
And then if you want something to print, to 3D print bigger items, of course, price goes up. Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. But the biggest 3D printer I have was a $500 3D printer, and it prints a 16-inch by 16-inch build plate. So actually, a 16-inch all three directions.
Is
Um,
that the printer you use to make the mask you make?
I actually used one that only prints a 12-inch by 12-inch because that's all I needed for the helmets. But
Right.
the one that is the larger printer is actually a little bit faster. So
That's good
give
to
me
know.
1 second. I'm so sorry.
No problem. While he's doing what he's doing, guys, I want to make a notice comment. Ronan made says he makes awesome dragons, and I will second that. I've got a couple of dragons he made, 3D printed. They're articulated and they're really amazing.
Sorry about that. Someone's knocking at the door.
No problem. My friend Crow wants to know are the materials that go into the printers expensive?
You can actually get some really, really good quality uh, filament for cheap now, especially PLA and PETG. If you buy it in bulk, so at least two spools up to 4 or 10, you can get them. You can get each spool down to about $10 $11 per spool. Used to cost around 20.
20.
Um, KC Chiefs fan, which is my friend Liam, wants to know if you use liquid injection printers, and if not, what are your thoughts on them?
So I don't use any of those. I would like to. I've thought about the like injection molded, like getting an injection molded machine so I can melt down some of my waste materials. And once I
Right?
get them melted, I can make molds and I can injection mold different things like that. And would like to have one. Um, but right now, like I said, I only have the DLP, which is the digital light projection, which it'll shine an LED light layer by layer to cure the UV resin. And then I've got the FDM printers, which goes and prints layer by layer like a hot melt glue gun.
I understand. Let me ask you this: what's the most expensive mistake you've ever made with your 3D printers?
Probably the helmets. I've had some fail, like get all the way up to about 85 90% and fail. And that with all the support material that they take, uh, at least with my cost and materials alone, was probably about $15, and
Right.
not to mention time, just the cost to run the machine. So, and then even finished product could play a part. So, Yeah.
Understand. Ronan, who is a musician, as you know, he asked, "Can you or could you print functional guitar picks or collectible guitar picks?"
Um, Probably, yeah. Shouldn't be too hard, especially with like I can print the bookmarks or like some of these earrings that I have are fairly thin and just a little bit thinner. They'd be flexible, but they shouldn't break. I mean, so that's something I should be able to do. No problem. Never really
So if
thought
he,
about it.
so if he was to message you and say, "Okay, here's what I would like," and the two of you come to an agreement on that, and right on, there you go, Ronan.
Yeah.
So reach out, brother. Peter Haywood asks, "Do you make guns with 3D printers?"
I haven't made any like real ones or parts for real ones. Just like but models of guns, I have tried to play around with that. But the material I used wasn't quite the right material. Um, I was thinking something a little bit tough, trying to use something a little bit tougher, a little bit, but it was the first time I had used that material called ASA.
Right,
But with PLA, I've got all the settings dialed in, so I'd have no problem with making a semi-functional replica. So you'd be able to put in the casings and you'd be able to rack it and it would eject them.
right.
So
Welcome in,
I
Tina.
have seen the models for those, but I have considered printing lowers for some because I know some people do that.
Right. Let me ask you this: what's the most difficult project you've ever taken on with 3D printing?
Probably right now I'm working on building a couple different versions of CNC plasma cutters. So I'm printing out the extra pieces like the braces and the connection pieces, um, bearing holders and carriages that'll move back and forth on it.
Right.
So
I
it's
understand.
more of like the whole thing being intricate as opposed to trying to build something specifically with 3D printed parts. Um, I haven't started yet, but I think after that would be the automated Iron Man helmet that I plan on building.
Right.
So it'll have like you'll have a button you can push, and it'll have servos that actually make the mask move up and down, so it'll open up like it does in the movie. And it'll be in LED light up eyes and all that. So
Okay. Paul wants to know if you've considered making a complete Iron Man suit.
I've thought about it, but that's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of filament, and I'm trying to do other stuff as well. So I've got other people requesting like different things from me, like the earrings and the bookmarks, things like
Right.
that. So I'm working on projects for other people. So I'm not sure that I'd have all the time that it would require without taking years.
I understand.
But I've
Um,
always wanted to.
have you ever built your own 3D printer?
The very first one I ever owned was a kit that I had to assemble myself completely. After that, all the upgrades I have done to it, I basically have rebuilt it entirely myself. So
Okay.
and redesigned a lot of parts and built new parts. So it's a completely different machine at this point.
All right. Peter asked, and I'll preface this by saying he lives in the UK, but he has citizenship in South Africa. So
Right.
he asked if you've ever been to the UK or South Africa.
I haven't. There are a few places I'd like to go visit. I'd like to go visit like Ireland and Scotland especially. Um, but I've never left the United States.
Are you able to increase the speed of printing without sacrificing quality?
You can on some machines. Like my newest machines run on a different setup, but with my old machines, I can re-flash firmware and I can reprogram it to where I can even increase the speed on those. But I have to have a separate board and I have to program that board to interact with the 3D printer's main board, and it'll take
Right.
up all of the functionality and all the actual thinking the machine has to do. So that way, the main board only has to do the movements. But I actually have the pieces that I'm going to use to do that. So
Right.
yeah,
Bugs wants to know what's the largest thing you printed, 3D printed.
um, I printed probably all in one piece would be a statue. Actually, I have that. I don't know where it is, but I did have a statue that was about 16 to 19 inches tall. I can't remember how big it was exactly, but the base was about 8 inches in diameter. Uh, that's one that I actually ended up selling, but I finally printed a new one for myself. There's that one, and then I 3D printed a dragon that was probably 36 inches long
That's cool.
for somebody.
Welcome in, Sir
So,
Lawrence. And Ms. Tracy says, not even Canada. And how many machines do you have? Because she wasn't here when I asked you.
right. I almost went to Canada one time back when I was younger. My dad was like, "Hey, you know what would be really cool? We should go up to Canada while we take a trip to Michigan to go visit the Cabela's there in Michigan because we didn't have one here at the time."
Right.
And it's like, we no, I don't. We don't have all the stuff we need to be able to get through and get back, and we'll try it another time. So and we never ended up going. Almost
Okay.
though, but yeah, I have 13 3D printers right now, and that's not even including lasers.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask
Yeah.
you a little bit about laser engraving too, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Paul wants to know how easy is it to run a program for a print from start to finish?
So it's actually not too bad. Like the slicer programs that you use on your computer that will take the 3D models and then it'll convert it into layer by layer, telling the printer where to move is really easy to learn these days. It's pretty much all done for you at this point. You can get in depth and really learn how it works, so you can change a lot of different things and get just that little bit more efficiency out of it. But it's
Right.
it's really simple to learn how to 3D print these days.
So Peter asked if he sent you a picture of his dogs, could you 3D print a statue of them?
Uh, I'm not that good yet at the 3D modeling. It's something I'm still practicing with, which is why I mostly print other models that I've paid for the licensing for. Um, I could possibly do like a 3D printed, like somewhat three dimensional 3D printed image,
Right.
kind of like a topography style 3D print, like a picture. Um, I've even got a way to do it to where I can print it, and it would be just a completely white plate until you turn a light on from behind it, and it would illuminate it, and it would show the colors through it.
Oh, that's cool. Bugs wants to know, do you do this for a living or for a hobby?
A little bit of both. So I don't make a lot of money doing this, but every once in a while I'll get a little bit more here and there. You can easily make enough to pay for the machines after just a little while, depending on how much you do, and if you've got the market for it in your area. So it's kind of like enough to make a little bit so I can have some fun with
Right
it.
on.
Um,
Well, Crow wants to know what's the best printer for D&D, which is Dungeons and Dragons figures.
right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A resin printer would probably be your best bet for that. One of the newer 4K plus 8K. I think they've even got 12Ks now. But uses the liquid resin, and you can get a lot more detail out of those than you can an FDM printer. Um, you can get a really decent resin printer now for 300, $400, and I mean, my plates are only about that big on mine, and it was about
Right.
$200 when it came out. Now you can get plates that are pretty massive for a resin printer. They cost a little bit more for those, but a good resin printer will cost you about 300, $400.
What takes more of your time, designing a print or the actual printing?
It depends on the print. But if I like the stuff that I do, it's the printing part. Because a lot of the dragons take me 16 to 36 hours to print, depending on how many colors I'm using in them.
Right.
Like I said, I don't model them, so if I did, it would probably take me longer to create those models. Um, but most of the stuff I do is like the practical stuff. Like I've made a knob for my spigot outside on my,
Right.
so because it broke on me, so I replaced it with one that I designed and created, and that took me about an hour and a half at most.
Bugs asked,
Mhm.
have you ever tried like small dragons or lizard keychains and presented them at a vendor fair?
I actually do have some of like the little mini dragon tattling keychains that are created by the Cinderwing 3D that I follow on Patreon. That I've paid for the licensing to sell their product, and they've done okay. But the most popular stuff that I sold there was the little fidget clickers, were the ones that did the best.
Understood.
Yeah.
Pro wants to know, do 3D printers come preloaded?
So they come with all the firmware and all the operating systems that you need, but you have to go and find the models that you want. And these days, with the newest 3D printers, they're all done over Wi-Fi, so you can find the model that you want on your computer and send it directly to the 3D printer, and not even have to worry about anything. Um, or if you're offline, you can save it to an SD card once it slices, and then just plug it into your 3D printer. Um, but you do have to pick your models that you want. They do have some like basic models that you can try out, like that come preloaded, but they're just
Mm,
little like bed scrapers and stuff to help get the models off of the build plates and all that, like
understood.
sample
Let's step.
prints.
Uh, I'll come to your question in a minute, Bugs. I want to ask, um, can you tell us about this spinal surgery you had recently?
Yeah, so I don't know how many people have ever actually even heard of neurofibromatosis. It's fairly uncommon still, but you get tumors that grow on the nerve endings just randomly throughout your body. So most of mine are internal. A lot of them are in my spine. So I had one on the front side of my spinal cord that was crushing my spinal cord between the tumor and my spine. So they actually had to go through my spine and take little pieces of different vertebrae out and go through to get to my spinal cord to be able to cut the tumor away.
Right.
And then once they got it cleared out, they had to go back in and fuse C1 through C5 in
Had
my.
that tumor? Could that tumor have made you paralyzed?
Yes, it actually could have eventually because it was growing a little faster than normal.
Right.
Normally, they only grow so big and stop, or they'll grow very, very slowly. But
Yeah.
this one, a couple of them in throughout my spine have been growing a little too fast, so they wanted to take care of that one because it was starting to affect the mobility in my hands and a little bit of
Yeah.
the hand strength.
That would suck. I also know that a spinal fusion limits mobility. How's your recovery been?
Actually, been a lot better than I was expecting, and even my doctors. So they're all surprised about how well I'm doing. I mean, it was only a couple weeks before I was really up and walking normally. Within the month, I was doing pretty much anything I wanted to do, and now it's
That's
only been
awesome.
2 months, and I'm completely cleared for restrictions. As long as I don't go and do anything crazy, I'm good to go.
I'm still not even cleared from all my restrictions yet. Still can't lift anything over 5 to 8 pounds. So, but I'm glad you're doing so much better, brother. I mean that.
That's good. That's
Now, Bug said and she's right. You mentioned fidget clickers. What are those?
So, I don't know that I have one in here right now. Not one of the little small ones. I can possibly go grab one, but what they are is
Oh,
just
right
little
on.
mini. Like they'll have like the ones that I sold most of are like little characters. Like they've got just like a little flat clicker that's inside, so it's got little keyboard
Oh,
clickers in
cool.
them. So you just put those in there. So I've got different characters from Disney and anime and things like that. So as you push it, it just clicks and makes noise. So that little extra stimulation for some people that helps keep them occupied. And
Now, I'm going to preface this question that Peter has by telling Peter where Shade's standing right now is at his bar. Now, he wants to know, do you drink moonshine or Everclear?
occasionally, yes, if I can get a hold of some real moonshine, I'll so I will. I haven't tried Everclear yet. I do want to get some because there are a few cocktail recipes that I've found that call for it. So I do want to have a bottle of that here in my bar. That
Understood.
way I can play around with some new recipes.
Mr. Soggy Pillow, which is my friend Jimmy, he made a comment. From what I understand, 3D printing takes a while. He's addressed the time it can take depending on the project, Jimmy. His question is there a lot of room for profit?
Um, it depends on your area, really, because there are some areas where a lot of people have been like 3D printing a lot. So if you go to the markets, like any of like those little craft markets, you'll see multiple stands that have 3D printed stuff. Um, so as far as time, I'll grab a couple different things so I can give you an example.
While you're getting that stuff, Shade, would the idea, if you go to a place where there's multiple 3D printer vendors, would it be helpful to print uh, unique or really different items from what most people do?
Yeah,
Or
that would be a big help. Or like one of the things that I do because I am actually a certified vendor for the Cinderwing 3D. I have the little 3D printed plaque for it, so
yep,
I can have that sitting out and showing that I am actually allowed to sell, while other people might not have that there. So they think, oh well, that guy had it and you don't. What's the difference? Are they actually selling stolen models, or are they actually allowed to? So I make sure that I let everybody know that I have permission to sell the models that I've printed. Um, with all that, and I actually go through the registration process through each of the creators that I pay for the licensing. Um, but like these two are about the same size, like
right.
really, really close. But this one has 4 different colors in it. This one only has the one, and the time went from about an hour and a half or so, I think, to about 6 hours, just because of all the color changes.
I know somebody that would love those, by the way.
And then dragons with multiple colors.
Right.
This one took me about 18 hours.
And as I mentioned before, when he went to get the door, I have a couple of dragons. He's 3D printed. They're really amazing. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah, and what if you're? I mean, to me, it's a good value. That's an individual decision on that, though. Peter Haywood wants to know: do you smoke 420?
I do not. I never have, and I've never wanted to. A big reason I don't like smoke as well is I have asthma, so I avoid
Right.
smoke. If I
I
can.
get that. Jimmy wants to know. He says 6 hours on the color changer. Using the Highland cows you just showed us for an
Mhm.
example, what's the price difference between the two? One with just one color, and the other one with 4 colors.
Um, Honestly, because even though the time difference for me, I mean, more often than not, I printed this out just to see, like as a test. I would print out multiples of these at once, so that would reduce the time between color changes, so it'd be
Mm.
more efficient. So I'd really probably something like this would be 8 and this would be 10. So it wouldn't be that big of a price increase.
Right on. I understand that. Crow wants to know, can you 3D print the dragon from Neverending Story?
Yeah, I've seen that model. A few different creators have made that, and it's actually a one of the flexi styles, so it's articulated like these are. And the one that I would get, if I can find it again, actually has a moving jaw, so he can open his mouth.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, Falcor was definitely one of my favorite characters from that movie.
Do you find it difficult pricing the things that you create and want to sell?
I do, because a lot of people will price very low to try to get people to buy from them. But a lot of people also tell me when I price my things, when I look at it and think, oh, it's about this much, they look at it and go, no, you're underpricing things. You need to charge more for that because it's so good. It's like, yeah, but there's a point because the market is pretty saturated with 3D printers making stuff, and a lot of people underpricing everybody else. So it makes it difficult to find a good balance.
Understand. Jimmy asked, where can one go to find your products and buy them off you?
Right now I don't have a website up and going. I few things after this year I've been having some issues with health, so I haven't made it around to that yet, but I do have plans to try to make a website, or I have a few things listed here. I need to get a few more things put up on the shop here. um, but if you had any specific questions of different models that you were thinking specifically, you could just always message me here.
Right. Bugs, and I love this question. Bugs wants to know, do you print stuff with the intent to sell and end up keeping?
Sometimes, like this one right here. Just that color change, like with the purple and the
Right,
blues, and then with those crystals in it that change from blue to green depending on how you're holding it.
right.
Originally, yes, I did intend this one to be sold, but I liked it too much.
Oh, that's understandable though. Um, you ever heard of, and what are your thoughts on 3D printed houses?
I've not seen a lot of like follow up from them, but the
Mm.
idea is actually not too bad. I've watched them where they basically drive around like on wheels, this big concrete extruder that puts the walls down, and just like concrete blocks for the walls, and seems like a pretty good idea. But
It's
I said,
fascinating. I'll be honest with you. I would have never thought of it, but you just
right,
never know.
I haven't seen very many follow up videos like years later, how long they've lasted, or how well they're doing, how well they're holding up. So I need to
All
look
right,
into that.
this is a good question, and you're probably uniquely qualified to answer it because of the issues you've had with your spine. Jamie, which is D's old nuts, who has cerebral palsy, wants to know, will having a disability hurt his using a 3D printer?
Um, as long as you're not the one trying to move it around, because some of them can get really heavy. Um, but if you're just on your computer finding the files you want and sending them to the printer and letting them go, um, it's not a whole lot of work. You just wait for it to cool down, and it should release right off the print bed. So you basically just walk out there and pick up a piece. Um, Changing the filament, where I've got mine, I can just do it, especially now. Like now that I can move again, I have the filament up above and feeding down through the back. So that might require some help for certain people.
Right.
Reaching up to get the change the filament out.
Right. Shay, he's kind of answered this, but I'll ask him again. Peter wants to know how long you've been printing things.
Um, right around 10 years now. So I got my first 3D printer at the end of 2016.
Great question. Paul wants to know what's the best thing you've been asked to print and felt good while doing it.
Um, hmm. Probably just some gifts for people when people want, like, when they come to me and say, "Hey, you make some really cool stuff. I want to get a gift for somebody else, like some of my dragons or uh, different little like signs or something, like the light boxes."
And I want you guys to know he also makes some pretty amazing bookmarks. Seems like not that big a deal, but
Like,
um,
so like this was one that I was asked to make. So my dad's a gymnastics coach, and he's got some kids that like Bluey. So one of them like had a birthday, and so I run LED lights through the inside, and then I've got a cord with a switch on it that turns the lights on and off. So I've done this. I've done Spider-Man. Um, I'm working on one. It's Harry Potter themed. So
that's cool. That's really cool. But so is the Bluey one, to be honest with you. That's why I've asked about getting my profile picture done as a light box.
mhm.
Um, let's. When did you start laser engraving?
um, been maybe 4 years ago now, maybe 5 at the most. Um, just saw some stuff. I saw people doing like the different like coasters out of the ceramic tiles. And I thought that was just a really cool way to do things. Like you can do like family stuff, like you can do gifts for like weddings, have the monogrammed names on the coasters or the cutting boards.
Right.
One of
Um,
the first things I actually did was for my cousin's wedding. I took one of his wedding photos where they had like different, each one of them had a different blue accent on their
right.
outfits. So I did a black and white photo of that, and then I went in through and repainted after it was done laser etching. I went back and painted each of their blue accents afterwards and gave that to them as a wedding present.
That's really cool. How many laser engravers do you have?
I have 3 now. Um, so 2 of them are diode lasers, and one of them is a CO2 laser. The CO2 actually needs work. I need to replace the tube on that one so I can get it going again.
Right on.
But I've replaced the board on that one to make it more efficient.
So Bugs noticed your old Forester bar mat in front of you.
Mhm.
She wants to know what's your favorite whiskey or bourbon.
Ooh. um,
You guys should know he keeps his bar stocked, just so you know.
yeah. So it depends on what I'm looking for. For just a really simple, easy drinking bourbon, I actually like the Jim Beam Black. It's a really nice, smooth, easy to drink. Um, if I'm not looking to do anything, if I want to do a cocktail, it depends again which cocktail I'm making. Um, but I do like Bullet for the like an old fashioned.
Right.
But I like Four Roses makes a good whiskey sour. So
Okay.
it
Let me ask
depends
you,
on my mood.
have you ever tried BSB 103, which is brown sugar bourbon?
No, I actually haven't tried that one.
Well, let me recommend that to you when you get an opportunity to try it. I think it's phenomenal.
Okay.
Um, And if you're a bourbon drinker, I think you would really enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah, I got
So what's
probably about half of what I have is bourbon.
while we're investigating your laser engraving side of things, what's the most intricate laser engraving project you've done?
Probably a few of my photographs that I've done, like that one for my cousin, or I did a line of celebrities, musicians that I listen to.
Hmm.
Um, so but yeah, just different photographs, just like all the detail that I can get from, you know.
Right, I understand. Now, with either the 3D printing or laser engraving, do you prefer things to be easy, or do you like to be challenged?
I like a little bit of a challenge. Um, Too much of a challenge takes me too long, and I feel like I'm not progressing enough. So if I'm trying to make something to put out there or sell, or if somebody wants something, I don't want to take too long to do it. So I try to keep it like somewhere in the middle. But if it's just a personal project, then it doesn't matter how long it takes. I do like a good challenge.
Have you ever done a project that involved both 3D printing and laser engraving?
That's one of the things that not so much yet, but I do have some ideas of things I want to try. Um, Making different kind of boxes and stuff out of like laser cut some of the boxes out and use that to accent some of the 3D prints. I think would be
Right.
really fun.
Do you does the 3D? We're going to bounce back and forth here
Yes.
probably, but 3D printing, does that involve a lot of sanding?
Not so much anymore because you need a lot of really, I mean, with the new 3D printers, even the rounded parts are fairly smooth. Used to be on the old 3D printers, all the layer lines were visible, and it was a pain. You either had to fill it in and sand it down, or just try to cover it up the best you could with like spray paint or
Right. I was going to
something
ask
else.
if that was a function of the 3D printers just getting better as they've gotten newer.
Yeah, so the better, and it depends. Actually, depends on the material too,
Right.
because with this material, it's kind of got a little bit of like a velvet texture to it because it
Yep.
actually has some little pieces in it. You would never know that it was 3D printed. Um, and even though some of the filament you can see the layer lines because of the way the light hits it, if you rub your finger along it, you can't even feel them.
Right.
So yeah, as the technology gets better and they put better computers on the boards,
Hmm.
it gets so much better. Every couple of years, everything changes. So
Understand. And great question. Bugs wants to know, for the bluey light box you did you have to buy that pattern, or can you get them free on the internet, or
so
do you have to get a license to do those?
I I have I do them one off for requests, so it's not like I'm like making a bunch of them and stocking them.
Right.
Um, so it's kind of like a fan art kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But what I do is I find the images, or if I need to, I mean, certain ones I will actually draw myself or create the images myself. But
Right.
I have a program that I can put the 2D images in, and it will go through and trace and create the vectors, and then allow me to color them the colors that I want them, and then it will put it through my slicer, so it'll make it 3D printable.
That's cool. Ms. Tracy asked, do you use flex filament?
Yes, I do. I have one printer that I basically have set up to specifically run the TPU because my new 3D printers technically aren't supposed to use it the way I have them set up. But if I change the parameters on them, I can use it on there too. But it's just I've got the AMS units hooked up to it, so that's the 4 color. You actually, I have all three of my AMS units hooked up to one printer, so I can do 12 colors right now. Um,
That's cool.
but the flexi filament, like the TPU, does not run through those units. it messes up every time. So
What's your favorite material to use to 3D print?
PLA is by far the easiest one to use, and with they keep they keep doing better and better with the PLA mixtures. So like however they're making it, they've got PLA plus and PLA high speed, high temp stuff. So they keep making it better and better. So it's right on par with anything else at this point, but it's the
Right.
easiest to use.
Crow wants to know if you have to have permission to print certain graphics.
I would say yes, technically anything that's licensed, you should get permission if you're going to try to sell it as like like in bulk, like if you have like 20 of something that's a licensed product, like anything from the NFL or like especially John Deere and Harley Davidson.
Right.
I've heard stories about people getting cease and desist letters just because they posted something that they made of their logo. So you have to be really
Understand.
careful with certain ones. But like I said, with certain fan art, a lot of companies will let you go with the fan art. So if you draw a
Right.
picture, you can commission fan art from somebody too. If you like the artist, you can commission them to draw a picture of certain things that are licensed. Um,
I understand. So
but
basically, it would depend on what it is you're printing.
right,
'Cause some like Disney, the NFL, like you mentioned, they're
yeah,
very aggressive about protecting their brand. Some
right,
probably don't care so much. Um,
right,
and Crow mentioned, so if you're keeping it, it should be okay. I would say, yeah, but if you're going to
yeah,
just keep it, probably don't put it on social media.
yeah.
Miss Tracy asked, does anyone ever ask you to make dotting tools, which are like stamps?
No, not yet. Um, I have made a couple of my own stamps with 3D printing. Although with laser engraving, I've heard that you can get some of that rubber material and you can actually cut that with a laser and
Oh, that's
you can
cool.
make your own stamps that way. So I've considered that too because I've got some of that stuff I got real cheap from a reseller from for like Amazon return stuff. I got like a stack of those things for like $2. So
Before I get to Paul's question, is there a material you'll no longer use to 3D print with?
um I have never tried ABS, but I don't see any benefit to it at this point, even though now I've got the machines that would do it no problem.
Right.
Um, things like that. I will very rarely use things. I like ASA. I won't use very often unless it's something that needs to be weatherproof. To an extent, anyway. It'll eventually break down, but it's not as bad as any of the others. But nylon, I won't go near.
Under- Understood. I love Paul's question, and I suspect that licensing will factor into the price, but he wants to know how long it would take to 3D print an American football helmet and what would it cost to buy?
Hmm. If I could find the model, I something like that before shipping, depending on the one, 50 to 75, depending on how, I mean, if it needs the color changes, that might change it too. But starting a basic helmet, probably 50 to 75. Um, and then it would be shipping. I'm not sure about shipping internationally. And
Right. Peter Haywood asks, do you have a license to do your printing or do you need
um,
one?
for certain models, I do. Other things, a lot of it's just free models that you can find online that they don't necessarily want you selling their stuff, but it's more like I will print it for somebody and then they can pay for shipping or whatever. So I kind of work that into everything. So it's not I don't just sit there and print everything that I can find and then sell it. I will print as requests so they can pay for the materials and the shipping.
How often do you have to paint something you've 3D printed or uh, if somebody, let me ask you that. Let me ask this question this way: somebody, let's say you're doing a project for someone. Um, would it would you prefer to paint it if it needed to be painted? Would you prefer to do that yourself, or would you like to offer that to your customers so they can paint it themselves?
Um, that would be entirely up to them. If they would like to paint it, then I would definitely leave that unpainted for them. But I do enjoy painting things as well. Um, I've got a few different things that I have done myself. Like I've got a Luffy statue, Batgirl, Diva, and I had until my cats broke it. I had a Super Boo from Dragon Ball Z that I painted all those myself because that's one of the things I enjoyed because I enjoyed painting the miniatures for D&D. So
Right. Paul wants to know what's the most obscure thing you've 3D printed.
I'm not sure if there's anything too obscure. Just kind of random little things here and there. I'm 3D printing a miniature version of the slide-in camper that my dad wants to build.
That's
So
cool.
he asked me to 3D print a model for him of it, so that way he could see what it would look like before he built it. So I'm working on that for him right now.
That's cool. I love this question. I don't know that I'd want to see it, but Crow asked, "Can we do a head statue of Big Tank?"
It would be possible. I don't have the scanner to do it, but I know they make the scanners that you can just all you do is you go around whatever you want to 3D print and take multiple pictures around at different angles, and you can turn it into a 3D model to print. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I'd want to see that, but it's good to know you could do it. What is now? Paul asked most obscure. I want to ask you, what's the most useless thing you've ever 3D printed?
um, well, probably just a lot of the little statues or stuff that I've got some wall decorations is kind of useless, but most of it just is to look cool. So not totally useless, but
I would like to take a minute here, if you don't mind, Shade, and announce that my interview guest next week will be Intelligent Brother. Um, he's been on here a while. He's a veteran. I understand a lot of you may not know him, but he's a really great guy, and I'm looking forward to that interview. Um, and I appreciate you let me take a minute to announce that. I do it every week. So, do you name your printers?
yeah, I do.
Does it like help to keep them straight, like in your mind, which is which?
It does. It also helps with in here where I've got the Bamboo Lab app on the slicer on my computer and on my phone. That way, I know exactly which printer it's going to be printing on.
Well,
And then
Peter, I
also,
don't.
if I'm talking to somebody about it, I can tell them which printer it is, and
Right.
so.
I don't know the point of this question, but I will ask because you put it in there. Peter wants to know what you consider the most toxic social media platform or app that you would advise people to avoid.
um, I know that, like I said, TikTok is one that you've got to be careful on. Everybody's got their own opinions, and some are very strong.
Right.
Um, Facebook, it depends on which groups you get into, because I've noticed like the Creality brand groups tend to be that way. They used to be. I don't know if they still are, but there for a while they were really bad, talking nasty stuff about everybody else and all this and that. Um,
In both of those, it's more of the people. I mean, you can be on TikTok and not have a bad experience, but
right.
in
It's the
in both,
specific groups that you get.
right, it depends on the people that you end up being around that make it what kind of experience you have. I love Crow's question. He wants to know what's the naughtiest thing you've ever 3D printed.
uh, Probably some of my decorations over here, or they're not. I mean, there's nothing like that bad. And I've got a decoration for my shop out there. It's like a devil girl in a bikini.
Right.
So nothing really that bad. Just
Understood. I love
scantily clad.
and I was going to ask you this anyway. Kevin wants to know if you have. I know you showed your the dragon. Do you
Mhm.
in the Highland cows? Do you have some other 3D print items that you'd like to show us?
Um, Not a whole lot in here right now, but I do have a few things that I can show off. Um, like the potion bottles
Yeah,
that have little tags on them, and with the clickers
yeah,
built in. Um,
cool stuff.
There's things. I think I took it back out there. I'll have to look and see. No, it's over here. Okay, I've got like little 3D printed dagger.
That's cool.
Um, Forgot I brought these in here earlier. But I was working on the whole line of
Welcome in, Miss
daggers
Red Rose.
from
I
the
love
game
that.
Skyrim.
That's
So
awesome.
Iron Dagger. Been working on paint. I need to paint this one up, but this is the Elven Dagger.
Very cool.
Yeah. The glass
I love the
dagger.
color. I love the color of that.
Yeah, that's that filament was the perfect color for the glass daggers. And then the ebony dagger.
Oh, that's nice.
So this one was actually 100% painted by me.
That's good detail work, brother.
Thank you. So I do, like I said, I do video game props, comic book hero props, along with
Welcome in,
helmets and
Brian.
stuff. I I do custom bottle openers.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
So, and the cool thing about it is it's got the magnets on it, so you can hang it on your fridge. But it also, whenever you pop the cap off, the magnet grabs it,
That's awesome.
so you don't have to go looking for it.
Let me ask you this one of those, what would it cost?
Um, $8 for one of these.
That's not bad. Guys, for those of you that, first of all, if you don't follow Shade, you really should be. He's a really amazing guy. And he is, you can, if whenever Jeff is feeling up to doing his DIY live on Saturday evening, you can always find Shade as co host in that live. And even in that live, if you come in and you ask questions regarding his 3D printing stuff, he's happy to answer even then. Thank you for showing support and love, Crystal. We appreciate you. Shade, that's pretty much it for the questions. Uh,
Okay.
you can tell Miss Tracy the time that DIY Live usually starts.
So it's 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern time. Um, Not sure about the time everywhere else, but
No,
7:30 to 9:30 Eastern time.
yeah, they can do the math for whatever time zone they're in if they're not Eastern. So for me, it's just an hour
Thank you.
earlier. Um, at this point, Shade, and I do. This is something I do every interview now. I want to give you an opportunity to do a shout out, and the shout out can be for whatever or whoever you'd like. But this is floor is yours.
I just want to say thank you to every one of my friends on here for pushing me and keeping me on the app and helping me get myself out there and getting over my stage fright for for one. It took me so long to even go live over here, and just all the support that everybody's given me has been amazing. So I really appreciate all that.
Absolutely. And I want to piggyback on that and shout out my mods first of all. Um, Bugs pins the comments. Uh, Paul screen records, as I said, so that this interview will on noon Wednesday be on my YouTube channel. Which, if you're not subscribed yet, the link for it is in my bio. I also want to shout out ASE Car Guy, Jeff, our dear friend. He's the guy that hosts the DIY Lives, and he is as much responsible as anyone else for having Shade on camera every week and helping him to get more comfortable being on camera. And last but not least, Shade, I want to take my hat off to you for agreeing to be my guest. This has been an absolutely amazing interview. I've learned quite a bit, and I'm sure I'll still have more questions for you. We could have gone another hour easy, but
I appreciate the opportunity.
we've been doing this for an hour, and again, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank everyone else for the excellent questions you guys also asked. And with that, y'all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.